Welcome into my world. You're playing my game. Thought that you could come up and they're fitting off of my knee. Talking out the side of your neck like you're insane. Cortisol levels to the roof. Inflame. Kids these days so shameless. Selling out real friends for a paycheck. Mama didn't teach them no home training. Wanna be me so bad, but they failing. Step to the plate though. I'll take a challenger. I ain't scared of no low life scavenger. I should warn you though, if you haven't heard, I ain't no Colleen ukulele ballanger. Shots been fired. Wanna tell that? Say it to my face though. Now behind my back. Won't be long till you share it in the group chat. And when I call you up, you're gonna backtrack. And you should've kept my name out your mouth. That's ego, how it all turned out. When you try to use my name for clout, keep on going, give you something you can talk about.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is Wednesday on January 14th. It is 3:02 p.m. Eastern time and I have a lot to say today. We have a lot to go over. So first things first, I just want to talk about this Hailey Bieber thing. It just now came across my desk about an hour or so ago. And I had occasion to see the other day a little bit of I don't know even what you would even call it. Something interesting, I'll say. Something interesting happened the other day. And what had happened was there was this lady on social media, TikTok. I don't know if it was, yeah, it must have been TikTok. You know, one of the social medias, as it were. This is her right here. She, let me, okay. She had basically, okay, so I'm having like speaker issues. I had charged my speaker all night and now it's just blinking. So my audio is pretty much just not working today again. So please do bear with me. But I'll just give you the gist. I'll give you the gist. Basically, this lady right here, we'll call her Julie. She is supposedly, allegedly a psychologist, and she has her master's degree in psychology as well as her undergrad degree. And she had made this video on TikTok, or one of the social medias about Hailey Bieber and Justin Bieber. And really, it was kind of like, if anything, in defense of Hailey Bieber, but it was like, pretty much saying, you know, speculating that a lot of people, a lot of women, they're like codependent women and they stay with these abusive men or whatever. Basically, she seemed to be calling Justin Bieber abusive. I mean, but from what I remember, you know, she wasn't diagnosing them or anything. Well, the drama really kicked up whenever Hailey Bieber herself shared the TikTok on her own social medias. And so people really, I mean, that's whenever it really, everything, like I said, hit the fan. So then just a little while ago, I was on Twitter, you know, taking a little break before I did my live today. And I saw this video right here, and it says Hailey Bieber's PR team is threatening legal action against the girl whose video Hailey shared. So Hailey shared this video, excuse me, let me be very clear. Hailey's social media accounts shared the video. I don't know if Hailey knew it existed, but this is what you get with famous people. I think that if a famous people or anybody's Twitter, Instagram, social media account and all is run by like a PR firm or something, then that should be disclosed. Because on the one hand, they like to have people on there, you know, making posts for them, and all of us are out here supposed to be thinking that that's them. But then, you know, we saw this in the Megan Thee Stallion case. We saw in the Tory Lanez case even. And what happens is, like, we saw it in Britney Spears case. We've seen it in Selena Gomez. These people are on here posting stuff, resharing stuff, and then the celebrities themselves get attributed to making those quotes or making those posts when really that's not what happened. So I don't know who reshared this lady's TikTok, but somebody did on Hailey Bieber's account. So very quickly it is removed, of course. And then today it's all making the waves that this lady right here, she's been served a cease and desist. Let me just see again, my speaker, I can't let y'all hear it because it's not working, but So she's like, Hailey Bieber sent me this thing to intimidate me and silence me. It's not going to work.
Of course, that's
In my opinion, allegedly. Okay, so here's the Reddit post about it. We can read it. This was 18 hours ago. What? Hailey Bieber sends cease and desist to content creator Julie Thies after Hailey denied reposting her video critiquing her relationship. So here is the a screenshot, and this is all public. This is all public on Reddit. Legal notice: Hailey Bieber and Justin Bieber versus Julie Thies. Hard copy of PDF below. Letter attached. Not Hailey Bieber threatening me. Miss Thing is triggered AF, in my opinion, which I am legally allowed to have. So here's the letter. You have manufactured a false defamatory narrative concerning our clients and their marriage that was published. Y'all, okay. This all would make a lot more sense to me if Hailey Bieber's social media account didn't reshare it. Hailey Bieber's social media account reshared it. So why are you getting mad with something you shared? You shared it. Oh my God. And if it's like, oh, well, Hailey didn't share it, it was somebody managing her. Well, okay, well, send them a cease and desist. Sounds like a Cassie Petrie move. Your conduct is wrongful, highly damaging, actionable, and exposes you to substantial liability. We demand that you immediately cease and desist from this wrongful and tortious conduct and remove the videos. In the videos, you assert that long-term romantic relationships only work because women tolerate abuse. Well, that's not exactly what she said. She said some. She's like, sometimes they only are working because actually the woman's getting abused and she just tolerates it when the man is an addict. Now, I'm not saying I agree with this lady. Okay, I'm not saying I agree with her. But I do agree that she's allowed to have her opinion. And it did not sound to me like she was trying to act like she was diagnosing anybody. Okay, it sounded to me like she was just saying this could be what's going on with Hailey and Justin. And again, Hailey Bieber reshared it. That's very weird to me that she's now sending a cease and desist. You expressly identify Hailey Bieber and Justin Bieber as the best example of this purported dynamic of abuse. In furtherance of that ridiculous claim, you fabricate and falsely characterize Mr. Bieber as an addict, stating that an addictive partner is always an abusive partner. Although you attempt to present these remarks as generalized commentary, they are neither abstract nor hypothetical. Like, y'all, please, are these freaking celebrity lawyers not tired of this at this point yet? I mean, for the love of God, can we just talk? Can we just talk on social media? I mean, yes, there is real defamation going on, but like stuff like this makes all of it just seem like it's all just frivolous. This is so silly. It's so silly. Although you attempted to present these as generalized commentary, they're not abstract or hypothetical. You define tolerance to include abuse and then held our clients out as the exemplar of that supposed reality. You as a false fact. Okay. What do you mean a false fact? Like, can they call anything? A false fact? You mean a lie? You mean a false statement? Like, a fact is a fact. I don't think a fact can be false. I don't think a fact can be false. Presented a statement as if it was a fact. Presented a false allegation as if it was a fact, something like that. But like, come on, Marty. A false fact? Jesus Christ. Oh man, okay. That accusation is not only false. See, that's how you should have worded it from the beginning. It constitutes defamation, exposes. You know it doesn't, because you have to have actual malice, and I don't think you're going to be able to prove actual malice here. But I'm glad this girl don't seem scared. Allegations or insinuations of domestic abuse are among the most serious accusations that can be leveled against an individual. Your statements are unsupported by facts, evidence, or verified information. Instead, they consist of reckless fabrications presented as truth and applied to real identifiable people. Wah, 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 wah. That's like, I'm just so sick of it. Oh my God. The girl, what you want to call it, like content creator, she said this girl will do anything but be honest with herself and leave her relationship, in my opinion, which I am legally allowed to have despite what this email says. I'm glad that she's holding her own here and saying, no, I'm not going to be bullied by you. You cannot avoid responsibility by framing your claims as commentary or personal belief. Yeah, you can. You absolutely can, because opinions aren't defamation. That's like pretty much one of the fundamental pillars of defamation law and libel law. If it's an opinion, you're allowed to have it in the United States of America. It's like these people want to live in North Korea so bad, go move over there. A statement that states or implies the existence of undisclosed facts. She did not. She did not. This is so silly. I can't even finish it. It's so stupid. She said, this is so elitist. Behold the temper tantrums of the sheltered rich. Exactly. I can't even freaking finish it. Remove the post. Like, shut up. These whiny babies, they go out of their way to be famous. They go out of their way to be in the tabloids. They go out of their way to be at these events and to be in the public eye and to make money off of us. But whenever anybody has an opinion, it's let me sue. Let me sue. Like, and you're going to lose anyway. It's just so stupid. I'm so over it. I'm so over it. Who's going to tell them wrong, bitch? Because out of principle, respectfully, no. Hoo-hoo! Yes, indeed. Anyway, if you want to support me, please go watch one of my YouTube videos today. I have a feeling I'm going to need the AdSense. Good for her. Good for freaking her. Good for her. Creator Julie Thies has posted these on her Instagram story after responding to Haley's claim that she never reposted Julie's TikTok she made about Haley and Justin's problematic relationship, which somebody did. Again, I'm not going to say she did, because I do know that these famous people do have social media account managers and people that are signed in, logged in, and they can post things on their behalf. So I don't know who posted it, but from what I saw, it definitely looked like Haley had reposted it. And the reason that I believe that, in my opinion, is because of what appeared to be, okay, what did this say? Hey, I know you guys who something on the internet are really bored, but I didn't repost any videos speaking on my relationship. Have a beautiful Sunday. She might not have, but somebody from that account appears to have. And the reason that I think that is because there is a screen recording going around on the internet of exactly that. Behold the temper tantrums of the sheltered rich. I am so glad. I am so glad that she's gonna hold the line over here. Because in this video, again, I really do wish I could play it for y'all. But my speaker ain't working right now. So she's like, this isn't just my rights. This is the rights of all of us, like all creators, all content creators, not even content creators, anybody that just wants to go on the internet and say their opinion. Please. And then obviously, according to what I saw on the internet, I don't know, I wasn't there. I don't know these people and I didn't ask them myself, but from what it looks like to me, Hailey Bieber's account did reshare that. And I think that's really what this is. She doesn't want it getting out that somebody from her account, either on purpose or accidentally, reshared that thing because it doesn't make Justin Bieber look good. So now Hailey Bieber, in my opinion, is possible. I don't really know, but it's possible that I'm speculating that now she's trying to put the cat back inside the bag. Well, the cat's out of the bag. I don't want to go back in. Okay. So that was the first story I wanted to tell y'all about today. I would encourage you to go and watch the whole saga over there on Julie Thies, JULIETHEIS, TikTok. And she said go to her YouTube too and support her with views on YouTube because she's going to need the AdSense money, she said. Which, hey, I know firsthand how it is when these rich freaks, the sheltered rich, come after you. Don't worry. I know that feeling firsthand. Okay, so that was the first thing I wanted to talk to y'all about today. Now we got to talk about Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs. It has been a while. It has surely been a while since I talked about him on this channel, but we are here. And it has to do with recent news that Donald Trump, the president for now, he came out and said, or the White House said, yes, Diddy did try to get a pardon, and no, Donald Trump is not going to be pardoning Diddy for his crimes, his criminal activities. Well, now we're getting news as of yesterday. Diddy's plea to the president, Donald Trump, it was from Mike Tyson as the intermediary. How embarrassing. Mike Tyson hands Donald Trump a personal letter from Diddy begging for a pardon as the disgraced rapper languishes in a hellhole prison. Mike Tyson got dragged into this, y'all. Diddy is facing fresh allegations on top of his 4-year prison term. This is the sun.co.uk. Disgraced rapper Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs tasked Mike Tyson with giving his pardon letter to the president. The Sun can reveal. Insiders claimed the heavyweight boxer handed President Trump the letter during his visit to the White House in November. So 2 months ago, Mike Tyson is minding his business, going over there to his White House visit. But before he can get there, he's intercepted by Diddy's PR team of some sort, an insider. And Diddy's like, hey, yo, through the insider, can you do me a favor? Melania, girl, why are you looking like that? What a stupid looking face. I'm sorry. I think she's pretty and stuff, but why is she making that face? Anyway, and it's the least offensive face in the picture, also, to be fair. And very clear. So imagine you're Mike Tyson minding your business, and then Diddy like sends somebody to go and send you over to the White House and do his Diddy work. Insiders claim the heavyweight boxer handed President Trump the letter during his visit to the White House in November. It says disgraced music mogul Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs has sent a letter to Donald Trump begging for a presidential pardon. Oh my God, girl. Oh my God. Former heavyweight champ Mike Tyson handed the letter to Trump. What's in his hand? Keys? President Trump confirmed last week that Diddy had asked for a presidential pardon through a letter, but he hadn't previously said how he received it. Diddy was jailed for 4 years in 2025 after being found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, those close to Mike Tyson claim he was the one given the pardon letter by one of Diddy's inner circle and asked to deliver it by hand to the president. A source said Mike had a meeting with one of Diddy's closest confidants. It must have been Charlucci. I don't know why I think that. It just like seems like that's one of Diddy's closest confidants. And he handed him a letter from Diddy. So it's a he. I think it's Charlucci, in my opinion. He asked what the letter was, and Mike Tyson was told it was Diddy asking for a pardon from Trump. It says Mike admitted he was feeling nervous about it, but he agreed to take it to the White House when he went over there for a visit. Mike Tyson said he handed the letter to Trump and did exactly what Diddy's lot had asked of him. It wasn't something he was expecting when he met with Diddy's insiders, but he did do what he was asked. This almost seems like he's checking in with Diddy. Like, I did my job, boss. Like, what does Diddy have on this guy? I don't know. Maybe nothing. I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm just wondering. Don't send me a cease and desist, Marty. The Sun has contacted Mike's representatives for comment. The Sun first contacted the White House regarding Mike Tyson taking Diddy's pardon letter to President Trump on... Wow, this is crazy. So they're saying it was actually last month, December 9th, when they first reached out to Mike Tyson asking about... So they must have had this news for a while. An official spokesperson did not deny Mike Tyson took the letter, but said that his position, Trump's position had not changed on pardoning Diddy. In a statement, the White House said, quote, any media reports on a Diddy pardon are not accurate. The president, not anonymous sources, is the final decider on all pardons. Last week, Trump confirmed he had received a letter from Diddy and told the New York Times that Diddy had asked Trump for a pardon. When asked about the request, he said it came through a letter, and Trump confirmed he was not considering the pardon. Oh. Mike Tyson, who was the undisputed world heavyweight champion from 1987 to 1990, previously said he wished Diddy all the best in an interview in 2024. This was before he went to jail. When asked about him, Mike Tyson said, I wish him the best in life. I wish him the best. In that same year, a video of Mike Tyson and Diddy together went viral on X after it resurfaced online. The video was taken that year, 1998, when Mike had been banned from boxing after his license was rescinded because he bit Evander Holyfield's ear off in a fight. Diddy, meanwhile, is languishing in a New Jersey federal prison. There he is right there, languishing. There's Diddy and Trump years and years ago. The footage taken on the Keenan Ivory Wayans show in the U.S. showed Mike Tyson moving Diddy's hand away from his leg. Remember that? We covered that on this channel. He was on a podcast and Mike Tyson moves Diddy's hand away from his leg. After Diddy was in jail, his legal team confirmed they were filing an appeal. During the sentencing, Diddy begged the judge for mercy and sobbed in the dock. I don't know what the dock is. Maybe that's the podium. At the end of last year, Diddy was informed he was facing a fresh assault allegation, I guess, in court. The report was taken in September from a man who says Diddy allegedly assaulted him in 2020. Oh my God, look at that demon face. Oh my God, look at those eyebrows. Oh my God, brush those things down. Ew. The alleged victim identified himself as music producer Jonathan Hay in social media posts that have since been deleted. He also says he was one of the John Does who filed a civil lawsuit against Diddy. Oh my God, look at the demon mouth. Like, oh my God, that is scary. Just look at the mouth. Ooh. I mean, this one's not much better, but at least it's decorated. Oh my God. Demon mouth. Okay. What's this? Trump and Tyson's relationship dates back to the 80s. There's just old picture of Diddy and Mike Tyson. This lady making the face all of us are thinking. Is this Big Joe Sherman? I don't know. I can't tell. Okay. And then this is Farnsworth Bentley. That's Diddy praying to what? I don't know. When the verdicts were read out loud, Diddy fell to his knees in glee after being acquitted of the two most damaging allegations. The New York jury did find Diddy guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but with each count carrying a maximum of only 10 years and no minimum. Diddy's legal team sighed a breath of relief in the courtroom. I was in there. I had to fight for my life to be in there, but I was in there. I can attest. Now, I will tell you, it's cool to be in the courtroom. I don't know if I'm trying to fight those grotesque and detestable, dusted, crusted, musty beasts with grown out acrylics. I don't know if I'm trying to fight those beasts for my constitutionally protected right to be in Diddy trial again. But what I will tell you is if you're in the overflow room, you can kind of see Diddy better because they have cameras up on him versus if you're in the room, they save all the seats for Chloe Malos and them. So you really can't even see what's going on in the front. You can only look around and see what's going on. I mean, you can kind of see if you're tall, I guess, but I'm not. Okay, anyway, so as arguably the trial of the century kicked off earlier this year, many had thought Diddy had next to no chance at getting off so lightly. The majority of federal cases end in a conviction, and with freak-off revelations, baby oil hauls, and disturbing claims all being made public at the trial, the case seemed simple to most. But as the final judgments were made and Diddy mouthed to his family he'll be home soon, questions emerged around how he escaped a more severe punishment. Many believed the fault lied with the prosecution for aiming too high with their charges. They lobbied for a complicated racketeering case that is typically reserved for the most high-profile mob bosses. The burden of proof needed to convict a criminal on such charges will always be tough to reach due to the repercussions of a life behind bars. And as the prosecution scrambled to keep the music producer locked up with a myriad of witnesses and claims, the defense simply played down the seriousness of Diddy's crimes. Diddy's defense had always remained firm in their admission of some form of guilt from the very start of the trial. His lawyer, Teeny Garagos, that's Mark Garagos' offspring, made an extraordinary admission in her opening statement in the court. She described Diddy as a domestic abuser with vicious temper. She put it on the first day. It is evidence of domestic violence, but it is not evidence of trafficking. And I totally disagree with her, but these people are demonic and they're going to hell. I'm glad that I'm not going to spend eternity with these demons. I'll tell you that. As the trial continued, the defense remained adamant that all the pieces of evidence were simply painting a picture of a disturbed individual rather than a calculated criminal. Mark Agnifilo, Diddy's attorney, even said in his eyes, Diddy was simply living a swinger's lifestyle, and he occasionally beat the shit out of his girlfriend. Yep, that's how they phrased it. That is how they phrased it. Okay, so that's going on with Diddy. I wanted to tell y'all that because what is he doing having Mike Tyson deliver his pardon request? And Mike Tyson's like, yeah, I mean, I was kind of like uncomfortable with it, but like Diddy asked me to do it. So yes, Diddy. Yes, sir, Diddy. I said, yes, sir, Diddy. I mean, imagine you're the world heavyweight champion for like 3 years in your life and Diddy is your daddy. Oh, cannot relate. I'm just so sorry, cannot relate. Um, Shout out to Rando from Iowa being a member for 27 months. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks so much, Brianna Gonzalez, for the 199 super chat. Have I heard about Sasha Riley yet? No, somebody asked me about it earlier, but that was about all I heard about it. And thank you again for the 199. I can email you his full testimony if interested. I don't know what it is. I didn't look it up yet, but if you want to email that to me, I'll take a look. Maybe put like what it is or something too, because I don't really know. Shout out to You'll Clap When I'm Gone for being a member for 22 months. Okay. So basically the Diddy pardon situation, two big pieces of news, just TLDR. Number one, Diddy is not getting pardoned. Okay. Trump has confirmed, yes, Diddy did ask for a pardon and he ain't pardoning him. At least, I mean, he reserves the right to change his mind. I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up pardoning him just because, I mean, the last president, Joe Biden, said he wasn't going to pardon his son and then boom, he did. So we'll see. But the other piece of information, the other piece of news I wanted to share with y'all was that Mike Tyson, former world heavyweight champion for several years, was tasked with being the delivery boy. Okay, he delivered it for Diddy. He said, yes, Diddy, yes, daddy. And he delivered it, even though it made him uncomfortable. He didn't want to do it. Okay. So, I mean, that's what's being reported. I don't know. That my email's linked in the description box below. It's down there. So that's what I wanted to tell y'all, the Mike Tyson piece. That's interesting to me. I'm still aggravated at Haley Bieber. Like, what an entitled freak. I mean, in my opinion, that's my opinion. I have no insider knowledge. I have no undisclosed facts. The facts disclosed are the facts are all disclosed, and it's based on that cease and desist, which I think is a punk ass bitch ass thing to send. Okay, that's my opinion, based on completely publicly disclosed facts, which are what that lady posted. So if it's not facts, y'all need to go sue her, not me. Okay. So now I want to move on to the next topic. Now I want to move on to the next topic. And this was one that I wanted to wait to get a little more traction, and I wanted to get a little more information before I made comments on it, because I do not know who Timothy Busfield is. Maybe I heard that name before. I have no recollection of ever hearing that name in my life before. So we do have some brand new news about that just broke in the last couple hours. So I do want to read that first because we do have some breaking news. And then I'll get into, the full story. So if you don't know who this is, he is another one of these Hollywood types, and he was started out as an actor, and he then moved on to being like, I think, a director of television shows. He worked on a lot of television shows with children and that had children in them. So we will get into the story. I do want to kind of start backwards. I want to start with the most recent update because it did just come out. After we read this update, then we're going to start kind of from the beginning and go through some alarming, terrifying, in my opinion, pictures. I have some documents. I have the arrest warrant we're going to read through. So get your snack, kick your feet up, settle in. We're going to be talking about Timothy Busfield for a while. Okay. All right. Hold on. I need to send a text message real quick first. Okay. Thank you so much to Kels on Earth. Thank you for the 149 super sticker. Every little bit counts in these months after Vlogmas, girl. It is like a desert wasteland on YouTube, and every little 149 counts. Thank you for that. Okay, so this is a breaking story as of 1:21 p.m. So like literally 2 hours ago. And as you could probably have already read, it says Timothy Busfield faces new sexual abuse claim by 16-year-old girl. Okay, so we're going to get into later in this live the original allegations that ultimately resulted in kind of like seemingly like a U.S. federal marshal's manhunt for this man. And that was two 11-year-old boys who are twins. But this is a brand new allegation 2 hours ago from a 16-year-old girl, or a girl who was 16 years old at the time of the supposed alleged allegations of assault. It says Timothy Busfield faces new abuse claim by 16-year-old girl whose dad says actor begged for therapy instead of police. Busfield, who surrendered to police yesterday, faces 2 counts of criminal sexual contact of a minor and 1 count of child abuse for an incident involving twin 11-year-old boys. And that's him right there. He's facing another allegation of abuse after he surrendered to the police on Tuesday yesterday. The actor is currently charged with 2 counts of criminal sexual contact of a minor and 1 count of child abuse, according to a statement by Bernalillo District Attorney Sam Bregman. A pretrial detention motion, which I do have and we will read, filed January 14th, includes a new report of abuse allegedly conducted by, again, Busfield. Another allegation has been made. He surrendered to the police yesterday after a warrant for his arrest was issued days earlier on the 9th. The warrant alleged that he engaged in unlawful sexual conduct with 2 twin boys. On January 13th, yesterday, he was charged with 2 counts of criminal contact of a minor and 1 count of child abuse. Prosecutors are seeking to keep him detained while he awaits trial. So the prosecutors do not want him to get out of jail. Pending and awaiting trial. In a pretrial detention motion filed today, again, I do have it. We're going to read it and I'll show it to y'all. He faces another accusation of abuse. Now, I don't know if he's being charged with this one legally, but they are using it as an allegation that they want a reason why the prosecutors want him to stay locked up. The motion states that another victim's father, Colin Swift, reported to law enforcement yesterday that Timothy Busfield allegedly had abused his daughter several years ago in Sacramento. Quote, while auditioning for Timothy Busfield at, quote, B Street Theater. Okay, keep that in mind. We're going to talk about that a little later whenever we get to the connections and the web tendrils that connect between Rob Reiner and Timothy Busfield. Okay, so this B Street Theater. While auditioning for Timothy Busfield at B Street Theater, the 16-year-old reported that Busfield kissed her and put his hands somewhere that they shouldn't have been. You can pause and read it yourself if you want to. And touched her inappropriately. Okay, and you can read the specifics. I'm not going to read that out loud. He allegedly begged the family not to report. Okay, this is weird. He allegedly begged the family not to report him to cops. And he was like, I'll go to therapy. And this 16-year-old who was abused, her dad is apparently a therapist himself. He thought at the time that it was the best thing to do to not go to law enforcement, but instead to let this guy go to therapy. Timothy Busfield founded the B Street Theater in 1986. It was then known as the Theater for Children. Okay. Now, was this B Street Theater in any way connected to B Street Boys? I don't know. I do remember there being something about B Street. Oh, it was Dream Street. Dream Street had something to do with B Street. Hold on. Let me. Okay. I needed to text somebody and ask them about the B Street Dream Street connection. I don't know, don't quote me on that. I might be misremembering. Okay. So anyway, moving on. The actor is married to a woman named Melissa Gilbert. Is that? No, it's Michelle. Okay. Actor is married to Melissa Gilbert, and he's best known for his roles in The West Wing and Field of Dreams. He was alleged to have engaged in unlawful sexual conduct with two 11-year-old twins whose identities were withheld from the public in the arrest warrant issued on January 9th. Before he turned himself into authorities, he filmed himself in a video obtained by TMZ, and he said, "I did not do anything." So I'm going to read you what he said in that video because, again, like I said, something's wrong with my speaker. I'm going to have to get that fixed by my next live. But he said, "Hey, everybody, it's Tim." Now, this came on the heels of like a nationwide manhunt for this man. The police cannot find him. So he drops this video and turns himself into the police. "Hey, everybody, it's Tim. I'm sure most of you know that are watching this that I was ordered to come to Albuquerque. I'm here now. I got the call Friday night. I had to get a lawyer. Saturday, I got in the car. I drove 2,000 miles to Albuquerque, and I'm going to confront these lies. They are horrible." He continued, "They're all lies, and I did not do anything to those little boys, and I'm going to fight it. I'm going to fight it with a great team, and I'm going to be exonerated. I know I am, because this is all so wrong and all lies." Well, he should have said, "I didn't do anything wrong to any little boys and any little girls and anybody under 18, because now there's new fresh allegations and he's over there sitting in jail." He concluded the video by saying, "So hang in there, and hopefully I'm out real soon and back to work. I love everybody for supporting me. Thank you." In the motion that was filed today by the prosecutors for pretrial detention, authorities are asking the judge to detain Busfield while the trial is pending. The defendant's repeated sexual touching of the victims inappropriately, combined with the deliberate grooming behaviors, establishes a sustained pattern of predatory conduct. This conduct demonstrates that the defendant poses a serious and ongoing danger not only to the named victims, but to any child placed within his proximity. Sexual exploitation of children reflects a profound disregard for the physical safety, emotional well-being, and developmental health of minors, and it evinces a risk that cannot be adequately mitigated through supervision or conditional release. Okay. So in the January 9th warrant, the parents of the victims said, the 11-year-olds said that the boys met Timothy Busfield on the set of the Fox series The Cleaning Lady after Busfield joined as a director in season 2. According to the arrest warrant, an investigation began on November 1st, 2024. Okay, so the investigation began over a year ago after a doctor at the University of New Mexico Hospital alerted police about alleged sexual abuse. Officer Marvin Brown alleged that these two child actors, 11-year-old twins, were the subject of crimes by Busfield. One of the minors alleged that the incidents began when he was just 7 years old, pursuant to the arrest warrant. The parents were advised by an attorney to take the children to the University of New Mexico Hospital, where they said professionals suggested that the boys were groomed, pursuant to the under the warrant. That's what it says, according to the warrant. It was later determined, however, that the case did not meet the authorities' acceptance criteria at the time. But later, almost a year later, in October 2025, the victim's mother filed a police report and then told CPS, Child Protective Services, that her children both disclosed that there was indeed abuse by Timothy, beginning in November 2022, all the way through spring 2024. However, according to the arrest warrant, the mother was told that because physical abuse had not occurred, nothing could be done. Okay, but she said they were sexually abused. And then CPS was like, well, we can only do something if they were physically abused, but I think sexual abuse is physical abuse. This sentence doesn't make sense. This argument doesn't make sense. The mother told authorities on September 2nd, 2025, and September 22nd that one of the boys told his counselor Busfield had inappropriately touched him. Oh my God, ew. When one of the victims was 10 years old, his therapist diagnosed him with PTSD and anxiety following claims of inappropriate touching. The therapist said the child began having nightmares about the director touching him and waking up scared. He claimed Timothy Busfield had touched and rubbed his inappropriate 3 or 4 times, and the child appeared to be ashamed, according to the warrant. He also suffered from bedwetting and other behavioral issues, according to the warrant. During an investigation, Timothy Busfield allegedly told the police that the parents were just upset because their sons had been replaced with a younger actor who auditioned, according to the warrant. But shortly after, the actor got a call from Warner Brothers, informing him they were investigating a complaint. A representative of Warner Brothers told People.com in a statement, quote, "The health and safety of our cast and crew is always our top priority, especially the safety of minors on our productions. We take all allegations of misconduct very seriously and have systems in place to promptly and thoroughly investigate and, when needed, take appropriate action. We have been and will continue to cooperate with law enforcement." Now, keep that in mind because according to the DA, that's not true. The DA is mad at Warner Brothers, and we're going to get into why in just a moment. This is interesting. Busfield was once ordered to pay $150,000 to a Minneapolis law firm after rejecting Busfield's claim that the firm fabricated as assault case. So what had happened was back, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, 2012, he was, I think, sued or accused of sexual assault by somebody. And then he ended up I don't know, I guess those claims were dismissed or no claims were brought. So then Timothy Busfield then sued the lawyers who were representing the supposed alleged victim. Well, the lawyers, I guess, anti-SLAPP filed back and said, no, you need to pay us now all of our fees for defending ourselves. And they won. So actually, he was ordered to pay $150,000 to a law firm after he had claimed that the firm fabricated an assault case against him. Also, that was 1996. A U.S. district judge ordered Timothy Busfield to reimburse the law firm Messerly and Kramer the amount it cost to defend itself in a defamation suit. Okay, so he had sued for defamation, and then they, I guess, filed an anti-SLAPP or whatever, and then he had to pay their law firm legal defense bills. He had claimed the firm made up a story that he assaulted a 17-year-old girl. The girl was an extra on the 1993 movie Little Big League, which Timothy Busfield directed, according to the outlet. According to that same outlet, he settled the underlying lawsuit with the girl for an undisclosed amount. So back to current day, in the January 9th warrant, another allegation was mentioned, this one dating from March 2012. At this time, it was a 28-year-old woman, so not a child, but instead a 28-year-old woman who accused Busfield of battery in an LA movie theater, alleging he slipped his hands under her clothes, touched her, you know what, inappropriately for a few minutes. There was no lawsuit filed, and prosecutors passed due to slim evidence. The warrant states, adding that Busfield called the interaction consensual. So that was a 28-year-old woman, okay? And she had apparently allegedly accused him back in 2012. Well, that sounds remarkably similar, the allegations in a factual allegation sense. It sounds remarkably similar to this formerly 16-year-old girl who also claims, or her father, Colin Swift, who's a therapist or whatever, he claims that same modus operandi, the same MO, that she was auditioning for the theater and he slipped his hands into her pants. Well, now this 28-year-old woman all the way back in 2012 is saying that the same thing happened to her. Allegedly, they're alleging it. alleging it. Thank you so much to Brianna for the $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Lake Monstrous, for the $2 super chat. And Brianna, I will look into that later. Where's the footage of this in a theater? They have camera angles of everyone. And not really as much in 2012, I don't think. Okay. So, like I said, that was the most recent news that was just put out 2 hours ago. And I think let's just start at this New York Post article. This one came out yesterday. I'm going to put it in reader view. Okay, so he's no longer missing, but he was missing yesterday when this came out. Missing actor Timothy Busfield admitted it is highly likely he touched kids on set amid child abuse probe. And this is according to the warrant that we're going to read. Actor and director Timothy Busfield allegedly admitted to police it was highly likely that he touched kids on the New Mexico set of The Cleaning Lady, explaining how there were no specific rules regarding physical contact with children on the show. The West Wing star was questioned by Officer Marvin Brown over whether he had ever had physical contact with the two children at the center of a criminal misconduct investigation against him. He reportedly said it was, quote, highly likely that he would have, adding that it was a playful environment. Imagine this freak running up on you and tickling you or something. Ugh. And innocent until proven guilty. I don't know. I certainly wasn't there. I'll tell you that. Investigators with the Albuquerque Police Department are working with the U.S. Marshals Service to track down Busfield after he was hit with 2 counts of contact with a minor and child abuse. The boys are twins. They were 11 years old at the time, and they alleged misconduct in 2024. When Timothy was asked what the protocol was for touching children and picking them up on set, the married actor reportedly responded that it wasn't allowed. But then he changed his tune and said there was actually no protocol on set for physical conduct between adults and minors. He said, I mean, I'm always around people, right? It would be, in front of the parents. There would never be a weird moment about it, he said according to you, but like if the kids think you're weird, how would you know? He said this during his police interview in November of last year, so just a few months ago. This is all according to the arrest warrant. I don't know. I wasn't there. He said, I don't really remember picking those boys up. I remember picking up the boy who followed them. I would pick him up and he would be giggling, and that would sort of get him ready to act. Well, according to the warrant, that's what he said. He reportedly added that tickling a child wouldn't be uncommon. So it's common. He basically saying it's common for him to be tickling other people's kids. But he claimed that he didn't remember overtly tickling the boys ever in relation to this case. The actor was also asked by police whether the children's parents were allowed to watch their kids via iPads while they were working. And he said, no, that was not a standard process. So the parents weren't always watching. So he kind of contradicted himself. He's like, if I would have been around them, it would have been parents there. But then he's like, well, the parents weren't even allowed to watch on iPads. The child actors were never alone on set without the teacher, a welfare worker, or a parent, he insisted. He's been declared missing, faces 2 counts of criminal misconduct against a minor, 1 for each child. He's accused of inappropriately touching one of the boys 3 or 4 times and the other boy 5 or 6 times, according to the warrant. One of the boys reportedly said he was very afraid of Busfield on the set of the Fox show in 2024, and he hadn't told anyone at the time because they were calling him Uncle Tim too. Uncle Tim was the director, and the child was afraid that Timothy Busfield would get mad at him, according to the warrant. Look at the eyes. I mean, you can tell a lot from the eyes. I'll just say that. Innocent until proven guilty, though. Representatives for Timothy Busfield did not respond immediately to requests for comment. He denied all allegations during the police interview, and the alleged abuse began in 2022 when the boys were just 7 years old, according to court documents. Okay, so Warner Brothers says they take all these allegations seriously, and they don't think any of that happened. So what I will say is the two takeaways from that article that I wanted to really impress upon you is tickling a child wouldn't be uncommon. So basically that's a different way of saying tickling children, other people's children, is common for this man. And like, I don't know, maybe that is what they do on Hollywood sets and stuff, but like that just freaks me out. Like, unless you're like an actual family member, like I don't really know why you're a grown man in your 60s tickling a little kid. I don't know. I do know that sometimes it's just haha innocent, but like knowing what we know about these movie sets and these Hollywood, like I think they should be acting in an abundance of caution and just not touching people's kids. That's my opinion. If you need him to be tickled to get him ready to act, then call his mama in. I don't. It's my opinion. Maybe I'm in the wrong or something. Okay, so this also came out today, earlier this morning. Heavily armed federal agents ram down. Okay. Oh my God, these ads kill me. Ram down the door of Timothy Busfield's New York home in a dramatic raid after he surrendered on child abuse charges. Heavily armed federal agents rammed down the door of his upstate New York home in a dramatic raid on Tuesday, that was yesterday, less than an hour after he turned himself in to police in Albuquerque. So he had turned himself in, but they were ramming his door down in another state. I guess they didn't get the memo. At least 10 U.S. Marshals officers from the New York Regional Fugitive Task Force busted through the door with a battering ram at the Star's residence in Highland Lake, about 20 minutes from the Pennsylvania border in the Catskill Mountains. The officers, wearing helmets and armed with assault rifles and riot gear, searched inside the house for about 10 minutes, but found nobody inside. They then moved to the rear of the property and searched an RV parked there and an outhouse. He had an outhouse? The hell? What's he doing in the outhouse? I'm confused. Okay. And then they did not appear to take anything with them when they left the property. Less than an hour before the New York raid, some 2,000 miles away, Busfield had actually turned himself in to the Albuquerque Police Department after cops alleged he engaged in unlawful contact with 11-year-old twin boys while directing a show. I guess that's the Catskill house. He's denied the accusations, maintaining that he did not do anything with those or to those little boys. They're all lies. I did not do anything to those little boys. I'm going to fight it. I'm going to fight it with a great team. I'm going to be exonerated. I know I am, because this is all so wrong and it's all lies. Okay. So, what's interesting to me is his wife is also a former child actress. He faces 2 counts of criminal misconduct. Alleged abuse began in 2022. The children were 7 years old. Criminal investigation began in 2024. So that's not last year. That was the year before, when a physician notified police about suspected abuse. Now, Timothy Busfield's lawyer, Larry Stein, he told the New York Post that the disturbing allegations were driven by revenge. He claimed, this is the lawyer for Timothy, he claimed that the boy's mother told an actress on the New Mexico set that she wanted payback after her sons were cut from the show's final season. Attorneys for Warner Brothers, which produced The Cleaning Lady, told police that an earlier independent investigation into accusations found that there was no evidence to support these claims. So Warner Brothers is kind of standing beside him. Warner Brothers is standing beside him. No, they're allowed to, because innocent until proven guilty. Maybe they really did hire a firm, and maybe they really did find nothing or whatever. But the DA has a different story to tell, and we are going to get into that when we get to that. So yeah, okay. So that article was about the heavily armed federal agents. Now, this is another thing I found to be pretty interesting. Another New York Post article. This one was from 2 days ago. This is when he was still missing, allegedly missing. Now, he kind of says he was never missing. He found out about the warrant and he started driving. He didn't want to get on a plane, but he drove, I guess, from New York or whatever, all the way to Albuquerque. Oh man. Woo. Nap time for me. Melissa Gilbert, so this is his wife, deletes social media as her husband faces arrest for child abuse charges. Melissa Gilbert has fled social media following the news that her husband is facing arrest. The Little House on the Prairie actress no longer has active accounts on Instagram or Threads. The link to her Instagram now shows a message that reads, "Profile isn't available." Oh, look at that. Let me see if I can, if it comes up on way back. Hasn't been. Hold on, let me go back. Oh, it has been. Okay. So I went to the Wayback Machine, archive.org. December 6th, December 6th. Let's see if in 2026. Let's go to 2026. January 11th, somebody took a snapshot. Okay. Okay, whatever. We'll go back to 2025. We'll go to December 6th. Seems to be the last. Okay, so it didn't actually save. It's just kind of like doesn't show anything. Let's go back a few years, 2024. I don't know if it's something to do with my computer. Kiki said she probably got abused as a kid. You can't get on a plane with a warrant. That's probably why he drove. Okay, well, I can look more into that later. I did take some screenshots of someone's posts of like some weird pictures that she had posted. But I'll save that for another day because I have so much other stuff to get to. I don't want to get too held up here, but where were we here? We were here, I think. Okay, so the lawyer said this is all about revenge. Warner Brothers is denying it. Her profile isn't available, may have been removed. Okay, so that's her right there, the wife. And that's the husband. I'll refrain from saying they appear grotesque to me. Anyway, however, her Instagram account for her lifestyle brand, Modern Prairie, is still up and running. The account posted a video on Saturday of her making a snow angel with a motivational message in the caption. Oh. Today's reminder is simple. Do what matters. Step outside, laugh a little louder, and make space for joy. Sometimes the most grown-up thing we can do is drop into the moment and make snow angels like nobody's watching. Maybe y'all grown-ups over there should just act like grown-ups. I think it's not the time to be acting like kids at the moment. The post had reached out to her for comment. I guess they didn't respond. Busfield, who apparently worked on the program from 2022 to 2025 as a director, allegedly grew closer to the boys during their time shooting the show, according to the warrant. Okay, I'm just doing a little what's on his desk analysis here. A silver Sharpie. Oh, he must be at some type of signing event. Oh, yeah, Chiller Theater Expo Spring 2022 in New Jersey. He allegedly told the kids to call him Uncle Tim and tickled them on their stomach and legs, according to the arrest warrant. The document states that he spoke to detectives on the phone and said it was highly likely he had physical contact with the boys. Okay, so that is, I wanted to share that with y'all that the wife has now deleted the Instagram. I will go in my offline time, in my off live time, and try to see if I can find some of the weird, in my opinion, weird stuff that she had posted. It was like of these kids, like just random different like pictures of kids. It might just been kids at like events or something, but it was like, I don't know, it's kind of strange, just like knowing what we know or knowing the allegations that have been made, which are just allegations until proven true. Because I want to remind y'all, I mean, this is a criminal case. He's not being sued by the parents of the children. He's not being sued by the children. He's not being sued. He's being charged criminally in Albuquerque. Okay, so now I want to pull up the actual arrest warrant and read through that. This is a public document. This is a public record, a publicly available record. This was on deadline.com. Shout out to deadline.com for making these documents available. I really appreciate it. And it's a good public service they are doing. So here's the warrant. This is the arrest warrant and this is the criminal complaint and the arrest warrant affidavit. Now it is 12 pages long. Okay. So first they get into a little bit about who is the person who is making these statements. Who did the investigation? The affiant, the person who made the affidavit. It is, 1 second. I need to rearrange my stuff. Okay. So it says affiant. This is the guy that's like making the allegations. Full-time sworn law enforcement officer with the Albuquerque Police Department. He is currently assigned to the child exploitation detail. He has been with the police department since March 1989. Okay, so this ain't his first rodeo. Okay. His duties include follow-up investigations on felony crimes, including but not limited to child exploitation. Okay, I'm gonna let y'all read his resume right there. Okay. I don't want to read all those nasty sounding things. He's also familiar and has been trained in the county and state laws governing these offenses. He has experience and training in the writing and execution of search warrants and arrests. He knows the full identity of the victim and his brother, but to protect their identity, their initials are going to be used throughout the document, and they refer to them as SL. Okay. They were born in September 2014, September 11th. On October 2025, this guy was assigned to the case. So just about 3 months ago. Okay. Shout out to Rabbit in the chat. Are you covering this case, Rabbit? Thanks so much, Nikki, for being a member for 7 months. Sorry, after the first allegations and these poor babies, there is no way in hell I could stand by him. Thank you for all you do, cuz from Scotland. Yeah, I mean, I would need to know more. I don't know what she knows and what she doesn't know, but it does seem pretty concerning Anyway, so let's get into this criminal complaint and arrest warrant. Again, this all started over a year ago. It started over a year. Yes, Rabbit is covering the case too. So y'all make sure, I know you're probably already following Rabbit. But y'all make sure you're following her. She always has really good insights too. And she has experience working in the like social, like what's it called? Social work. She has experience working in social work. And I think even with like the state and stuff too. So she always has really good insights. And I love her content. Okay, so we got to go back in time all the way to November 2024, over a year ago. November 1st, 2024, Officer Osborne was dispatched to the hospital. Someone named Dr. Tyler Christensen of University of New Mexico Hospital was calling for an S abuse investigation. The officer spoke with the parents whose names are Angel, probably my cousin, and Ronald, because this is the parents of the 11-year-old twins. They told the police officers that their children are child actors and they had been on a television series called The Cleaning Lady. A director identified as Timothy Busfield joined the series and grew closer to the boys. It was reported that Timothy would tell the children to call him Uncle Tim. The parents of the 11-year-old told the officer, this is all the way back in November 2024. They both discovered that there were allegations against Timothy of S assault by both women and minors who had made these allegations. The father told Officer Osborne that there had been multiple rumors that Timothy had been, quote, handsy with women. The mother told the officer that she had asked the children are being called V and S. V and S, who were 11 years old at the time, if anyone had ever touched them in an inappropriate manner or that made them feel uncomfortable. The children responded by saying, you mean like Uncle Tim? Now, Ronald the dad went to a law firm, and the law firm recommended to take the two kids to the hospital, which they did. It was reported that while at the hospital, the staff were advised that it appeared the children were groomed. In reference to a CART exam, it was advised that they would reach out for a full CART exam. Now, the officer, this is back in 2024, talked with both VL, the two twins, who did not disclose any sexual contact at this time. Now, I will say in his defense, what's his name? He's gonna, like, his lawyer is gonna say, why didn't they say it at this time? And of course, then the prosecutor will say, have to bring up an expert that'll say, this is common. Sometimes kids don't even know that it is S abuse or inappropriate, so it won't make them feel uncomfortable. But I do just want to point out places where I do think that he is going to be able to argue, with some reasonable doubt here. Like, oh, they were S abused, but they didn't tell anybody about it at the first visit. And, understand that's something that's, could be offensive to some people and stuff, but that is what you should expect his defense to do. Both boys advised that Timothy Busfield, who they referred to as Uncle Tim, would tickle them on the stomach and legs. Neither boy cared for the tickling. That means they didn't like it. Officer Osborne contacted Detective Michael Brown with the Crimes Against Children unit and determined that the case did not meet their acceptance criteria at this time. Okay. So they said, old boy would tickle them. He would tickle them. He would tickle their legs and tickle their stomach. But the allegations that he tickled him is not S assault. Tickling is not S assault. The police said we can't arrest somebody on that. So they just kind of let it go. They didn't accept the allegation at this time, but I guess maybe the criminal investigation was still active and open, I guess. Okay, so then fast forward almost a whole year. On October 3rd, 2025, the mom reported to CPS that her children both disclosed that there was S abuse by this supposed Uncle Tim, starting in November 2022 all the way up to spring 2024. The mom advised that she filed a police report, but she was initially told by law enforcement that since Timothy had not physically touched the children, there was nothing they could do. But again, this doesn't add up because I thought it was reported that he at least did tickle them, and that is physically touching. The mom advised that her children were groomed and sexually abused by Timothy. She advised that on September 2nd, 2025, one of her sons, S, is his name, SL is the initials they gave him, reported to his counselor that Timothy Busfield touched his inappropriate. Okay. So then they moved to the next section, safe house interviews. On October 14th, 2025, a safe house interview was scheduled for the twins. This was scheduled on the morning of Halloween, just last year, a few months ago. Okay, so now they're going to talk about this got to be somebody from Louisiana. Angel T. LaSalle, I bet you it's Thibodeau. Angel LaSalle and Ronald Rodis. On October 17th, 2025, I contacted Angel. This is the mom. By phone. She was out of town traveling with her husband. I spoke with them on speaker and advised them that I would be investigating the boys' disclosures to their therapist. The mom told the cop that on September 3rd, the child had disclosed to his therapist that Timothy Busfield touched his. Okay, so you see this word right here and how they got it in quotes. This was on one of the things that I kind of put on the side of Timothy Busfield. And it's because it's such a specific word. In this case, he said genitalia, and they put it in quotes. Genitalia and bottom. Okay. So this is not a word I would normally expect an 11-year-old or a 7-year-old to use in their speech. That does not mean that it is not possible, and it absolutely does not mean that it didn't happen. Okay, I want to be very, very extremely clear. Just because a child is using a word I wouldn't expect them to be using doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean that they're lying, and it doesn't mean that this kid doesn't just have an advanced vocabulary and use words like genitalia. But the fact that that is the word that was used has been and can be used against child victims or alleged victims. And this is because, they'll have like language. I saw this just the other day, actually. I saw an incident of this just the other day. I was watching one of those like EWU body cam, videos or whatever. And there was a child who said almost something exactly like this. It was like, touched my genitalia and private part or whatever. And it was kind of like, I didn't think anything of it, but they pointed it out in the police investigation as something that they at least did mark, like this is not typical language for a child to be using. And you'll see what I mean as we go on, because there are more allegations made and they don't use this word. Again, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean I don't believe it. It doesn't mean that this child is lying. It doesn't mean any of that. But what in the EWU body cam, investigation that I was watching, what it was taken to mean at that time was that the child had at the very least discussed their testimony to the doctor with an adult beforehand. And then that adult gave them the language of genitals or genitalia versus something that the child would have spontaneously come up with on his or her own. Again, this does not mean it did not happen. It does not mean the child is lying. And it doesn't mean that a child is lying just because they talk to their parent before they talk to the police. Actually, in fact, and indeed, I would hope that a parent would prepare a child to talk about such a horrific thing with the cops. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't believe them or nothing like that. What I'm saying is this has been used to, as in the defense, especially to say an adult told them to say this. What that means beyond that, I don't know. Y'all can fight about it with each other because I'm not interested in arguing. Okay. So the mom also advised 20 days later that SL, the same son, disclosed to his doctor that Timothy Busfield touched his, this word, very specific scientific word, and bottom. Okay, so about a month later, the cop said he submitted 2 search warrants for approval to the district attorney's office for the medical records from the pediatrician and from the therapist. So I don't know. He's saying 2025 everywhere else, but right here he's saying 2024. I think it's supposed to be 2025. October 2025, I executed the search warrant. So he got search warrants for the records from the doctor and the therapist. So then he gets into the findings. First, starting with the therapist records. He says the day before Halloween, he received the therapist records from the therapy lady, and he reviewed the documents by the social worker who documented therapy sessions with one of the children, one of the twins, SL. The social worker diagnosed SL, who was 10 years old at the time, with PTSD. The cop said he also viewed an incident report from earlier in the year, from September, documenting that same twin, disclosing that a director of a series in which SL was an actor had engaged in inappropriate touching, and previous disclosures were being touched on the arm, chest, and back. Okay, so touching a kid on the arm and the chest and the back isn't going to arise to the Albuquerque police, as abuse status. So while the social worker was updating the treatment plan for the twin disclosed that the director had also touched his private and inappropriate area. A few days later, the social worker documented the disclosure of having nightmares about the director touching him and waking up scared. Also disclosed that the director had touched and rubbed his inappropriate 3 or 4 times, and the child appeared to be ashamed. Okay, so that was the therapist's records. And then he gets into the doctor's records. On October 29th, earlier last year, just a few months ago, the cop said he reviewed the patient care summary for the twin SL submitted by Zoe Howell, the doctor. The most recent encounter on September 22nd discussed an assessment plan for the S assault of a child. The cop said, I did not find any disclosures from SL during the visit. On June 24, 2025, the doctor saw this same twin, SL, accompanied by his mother, Angel, who gave the background of the criminal S assault alleged contact involving a member working on the set of a television series. After reviewing the medical records, it was documented that SL and his brother were child actors in a show called The Cleaning Lady, and experienced grooming and inappropriate touching by a member on set between 2023 and 2024. Both of the twins were evaluated at University of New Mexico Pediatrics Urgent Care in November, all the way back in 2024, and it was reported, and the Albuquerque Police Department was notified. The twins, have been in therapy since 2025. SL has had issues with wetting the bed, along with other behavioral issues, and he was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety. He's not currently on medication. Okay, so then he gets into some more evidence, and this is safe house interviews with the twins. On Halloween, both of the twins were taken to an advocacy center for interviews. The cop said he watched both of the interviews, recorded and conducted. They were recorded and conducted by forensic child interviewer. SL was the first child to be interviewed. During his interview, he told the interviewer that Tim touched him while he was on a movie set. He told the interviewer that the first time Tim Busfield touched him was when he was 7 years old. He described it as his parents no longer having an iPad to watch the set. And when the director, who was Tim, said, "Cut," Tim would come into the bedroom on the movie set and touch SL's, quote, private areas. Okay, so he's not saying Jenna, anymore. He's now saying private areas. He provided a drawing to the interviewer showing how he was alone with Tim in this room. The twin said Tim would grab his waist with both hands while SL was lying on his back in the bed of the movie set. So there's a bed on the movie set, and Uncle Tim would yell, "Cut!" and they would go into the bedroom, and allegedly, according to this criminal complaint and arrest warrant, would then touch, in inappropriate ways. He said that Tim would grab his waist with both hands. He would then touch all over SL's body, including his private area. And then SL later described the private area as where he poops and peas. Okay, so this is more like what I would expect from the vocabulary and the vernacular of an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old, like my poo-poo pee-pee area or whatever. He also referred to in medical terms, also this would be referred to in medical terms as the gluteus maximus and the private. He said Tim touched his poop and pee area over the clothing 5 to 6 times between sets. After the sets were over, SL said he was scared and he would speed walk to his father and hide behind his dad. He said the second time he was touched was when he was 8. So the first time was in his 7. Second time he was 8. Again, while he was on set. He describes the movie set as the same as the first set. He said that Tim touched him 3 or 4 times on the poo-pee area of his clothing. He said he was very afraid of Tim and he was relieved when he would get off set. He said he was afraid to tell anyone because Tim was the director and he feared Tim would get mad at him. SL did advise that Tim touched him while he was on set filming in Albuquerque. I learned the television series The Cleaning Lady was filmed in Albuquerque, in New Mexico. Okay, so that was the first brother. Now, we've really only heard about that twin so far. Now we're going to hear about the VL, which is the other twin. During VL's interview, he told the interviewer that his dad was worried about him because Tim was touching his brother and him. He advised that Tim was the director of the show, and they had a lot of directors, but Tim was the new director. VL, one of the twins, explained that Mr. Tim started touching them in the first 2 years, but he didn't want to say anything because he didn't want to be mean to Tim, and therefore he didn't say anything. He said Mr. Tim would start touching him with his hands all about his body while they were filming in the, quote, house. He said it was all about his body, but he didn't disclose that he was touched on any specific area. He said he did not like being touched, but he didn't say anything because he didn't want to get in trouble. Okay. So that was the interview with the 2 twins. So then a few days later, they interviewed the mom again in a follow-up interview. And the mom talked to them about the iPads that the crew used to hand out to the parents while their children were filming. This would allow the parents to watch the children while they were filming. But the mom said she couldn't remember the exact date, but they did quit passing out those iPads. She said that it was after Timothy started directing. So they used to have iPads where they could kind of like monitor what their kids were doing. After Timothy started working as a director, there was no more iPads. The cop said he asked the mom to explain how her son was allowed to be alone with Timothy while on the movie set if there were other people around. Remember, that was his alibi. He said, if I was ever around those kids tickling them, which I probably did do, there would have been other people around, their parents, the set teachers, the welfare people. So the cop is asking the mom, how could he have been alone with your son? The mom said to the cop that when the director is directing someone in a scene, a lot of the times people are going to let them talk, just the 2 of them or whoever it is. When the director says cut, a lot of times people are rushing around trying to get to that next scene, that next shot. So the mom said she had started noticing SL becoming uncomfortable around Timothy. She saw this during a live photo that was taken of Timothy and SL, where Timothy was caressing SL's head. So, you take a photo, but then you can do like a live photo. So she said that was like the first time she started noticing it was weird. So on the same day of that mom's follow-up interview, that's when the Timothy Busfield interview was, or at least one of them. On November 3rd, so just about, 2 months or whatever ago, the cop says he called and left a message with Timothy, the director, asking him to return his call. At 10:44 a.m., I received a call from Timothy who advised me that I was on speakerphone with him and his wife, Melissa. Timothy advised that that the 2 were in New York at the time, because that's where they live, New York. They have that Catskills house. The cop said he advised him he was investigating a case that was assigned to him and asked if he would like to speak with the cop, and Timothy did want to speak with him. I informed Timothy that Detective Josh Dennison would be sitting in on the interview and I would need to read him Miranda warnings before starting the interview. So 3 minutes later, he agreed to talk after the Miranda warnings were read. I explained to Timothy that a child had disclosed information about something that happened to him while he was directing the child on the TV show. Timothy said he started directing that show in season 2, close to the final episode, 3 years ago in 2022. He said there were 12 episodes, so it had to be episode 11. The cop said he asked Timothy if he remembered if there were ever iPads for parents to watch their children while they were on set. Timothy said, "We don't really like that the parents had iPads while on set." Okay, that's a red flag. Timmy, why you don't like it that why you don't like it that the parents can simply see the kids monitor their own children? That's weird. But that's what he told the cops. He said, "I don't like the parents had iPads. That wasn't a standard process, and we do not encourage it." I asked Timothy if the parents were allowed to have iPads to watch their children before he started directing the cleaning lady. Timothy said, they might have been. Maybe they had iPads, but he continued to say that the children were never alone on set without the teacher, a welfare worker, or a parent. Timothy said he did not know the iPads were taken away, but this would not have gone through him anyway. The cop said he went on to then ask if he knew the children who were on episode 11, season 2, and Timothy replied, yeah. The showrunners were let go. The creator of the show's option wasn't picked up, and those 2 boys were replaced by a younger boy who they auditioned. So they got rid of those twins and they replaced them with a younger boy. Timothy said the parents had a problem with this. Okay, so this is his defense. The parents are just pissed because their kids got kicked off the show, and he's like, that's their problem, not mine. Timothy said that in the spring, he got a call from Warner Brothers saying they were investigating a complaint. Timothy said Warner Brothers had an outside investigation through another firm. He said that he was told that there were complaints about him from the boys. Timothy acknowledged that the boys involved were SL and VL, and he said the investigation began in the spring 2025. Timothy told me the lead actress, so remember her name, Elodie Young, is the lead actress. She said the mother, so Timothy's talking hearsay to the cop. Timothy is saying, all right, look, we have a lead actress on the show. Her name's Elodie. Elodie and me were talking, and Elodie told me that their mom is just a revengeful, spiteful bee. She wanted revenge, and she said, I'm going to get my revenge on Tim for not bringing my kids back the final season. Now, Timothy described to the cop a bedroom setting along with a hospital setting that had a bed. And this was a gurney for SL and VL to lie on. This is consistent with what SL, one of the twins, had described in his interview. Timothy advised that the director, this is the accused, advised that he had only directed those 2 kids on the Pan American Freeway set, only had directed them in Albuquerque. The cop said he asked Timothy if he ever had any physical contact with the boys and if he ever picked them up and tickled them. Now listen what he said. He said, well, it was highly likely that I picked them up and tickled them. It was a playful environment, like I wanted. But Timothy said that the dad, Ronald, would force SL and VL to hug him, and he didn't really want them to hug him. Okay. The cop says he asked Timothy what the protocol was for touching children and picking them up and touching them. I also asked if that was allowed, and Timothy said it's not allowed at all. There's no protocol. I mean, I'm always around people though. It would be, in front of the parents. Okay, but he just said he didn't even like that the parents could see through iPads. So how would it always be in front of the parents? His own story's not adding up. There would never be a weird moment about it. I don't really remember picking those boys up. I remember picking up the boy who followed them. I would pick him up and he'd be giggling, and that would sort of get him ready to act. I don't remember those boys. I don't remember if it happened. I don't remember overtly tickling those boys ever, but it wouldn't be uncommon for me to do so. Timothy and his wife, Melissa, did tell the cop that before this, they had a relationship with SL and VL, the twins. outside of work. So they had a relationship with these twins outside of work. They advised that they bought the boys Christmas gifts and they were together at several social functions. Okay. So now we're going to get on to the next section, which is the lead character, the lead actress from The Cleaning Lady, Elodie Young. On November 5th, 2025, so just a few months ago, he says he contacted Elodie Young to set up an interview. She agreed to meet with him at the Northwest substation on 2 days later. He said, I initially advised this lead actress that Tim Busfield gave me her name and said she may have information about the case. But then the day before, so look at the timeline. The cop calls her on the 5th. They set up an appointment to meet on the 7th. But the day before, so it's 5th, and then the next day would be 6th, and then the next day they were going to meet was the 7th. So she's like, yeah, I'll be there, bet. But the day before they were supposed to meet, and the day after she agreed to meet, so the 6th, she left the cop a voicemail declining to speak with him and said she doesn't actually want to be involved in the investigation. And she would not have any information that would assist him in the case anyway. The voicemail was uploaded to evidence.com. Okay, so she had agreed to meet, but she kind of reneged. One second, let me send a text. Okay, so the next section is another name in the story, Taylor Trujillo. Girl, how do you say that? Trujillo? I was able to contact, so this is 11/14, so this is some time goes by, a week or whatever. I was able to contact Taylor, who is a production assistant on the television show, while the twins were on set. Taylor advised that there would be over 100 people working during the production of The Cleaning Lady and explained that everyone had a specific job and they didn't really focus on other jobs being done by other people. She said it was not uncommon for groups of different jobs to be done at different times. Taylor advised me, this is the cop, she advised the cop that she remembered the child actors, especially SL and his parents. She said so this is a production assistant. She advised that she was familiar with the rules that pertained to child actors, and one of the rules was that the child is supposed to have a set teacher who would watch the children and advocate for them during production. She said that she remembered SL's set teacher's name was Lee. Okay, so one of the twins had a set teacher named Lee. But this production assistant said Lee really seemed to lose track of what the child actors were doing. The production assistant, Taylor, gave an example. For example, one time one of the twins, SL, was stopped unsupervised riding a skateboard through a live set. When Lee was asked about this, she did not have an answer as to why SL was unsupervised. Taylor did go on to tell me that she felt that SL's parents weren't from the industry and they didn't quite understand their rights as parents. And this is the type of parents that often get targeted. It's oh yes, we love that. We love a dumbass Jamie Spears so we can just run all over his stupid low IQ mashed potatoes frontal lobe stupid ass face. We just run all over him and do whatever we want with his kid. I mean, for example, in my opinion, I don't know, I wasn't there. But she said, yeah, I mean, I feel like the parents weren't from the industry and they didn't understand their rights. She said the set teacher's job was supposed to be to help with this and be an advocate for the children. But she said she saw directors alone with child actors when there should have been a parent or a set teacher with them. So that starts to kind of chip away at what Timothy's main alibi is. His main alibi is, I would have never been alone with them kids. They always had a set teacher, a welfare person, or their parents. Well, Taylor's saying that's not true. Sometimes the set teacher wasn't doing her job. And she saw other children alone with directors before. Taylor, the production assistant, told the cop that she noticed that SL and VL, the twins, did not feel like they wanted to be there anymore. She said when she first met them, they were very happy, bubbly children. But toward the end of season 2, remember he came on in season 2, right around the end. Around the time Mr. Busfield came in, and all of season 3, especially SL, the twin, started acting difficult, and they were not happy. When the cop asked about touching actors or children while they were not on set being filmed or scripted, if touching them was allowed, this production assistant Taylor said that was not allowed. And it was very unprofessional for anyone to touch or tickle anyone. Taylor remembered Timothy being very touchy with certain people and felt that it was very unprofessional. Okay, so that was Taylor. Remember her last name, Trujillo? Trujillo? How you say that? Well, there's another Trujillo on the set, and it's Lauren. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Lauren, another production assistant. I don't know if they're related or not. What if they're twins too? I don't know if they're related. So that same day, the cop talked with another production assistant. This was Lauren. She was a production assistant starting at the end of season 2 through season 3. So right around the same time that Tim Busfield came on, this Lauren came on as a production assistant. She was familiar with an investigation involving the twins and Timothy and advised the cops she never saw anything that would require her to report something to the police. But she did see abnormal behavior on the set. She said she remembered the room the 2 boys were filming in and told the cop that she did see Timothy in the room with the twins. She said she doesn't remember if they were alone in the room, but advised that it could have been possible due to the set teacher always hanging out in the first team holding area where there were no monitors, and she would lose sight of the children. So we have another person who is corroborating that this set teacher was not always attentive. She wasn't really doing her job all the time, according to this statement in the warrant. Lauren, the production assistant, told the cop that it shouldn't happen. That's why they have set teachers. They're supposed to help keep an eye on that, but it's absolutely possible the kids were alone in a room with him. She advised that the set teacher was an older lady and she didn't really keep a super close eye on the kids. She let them run around and do whatever. Lauren, the production assistant, explained that there were a couple of times they would be running around and almost get hit by other crew members carrying stuff or crew members trying to dodge out of the way of the kids. Lauren explained that a set teacher was supposed to always be monitoring the children before, after, and during production. The set teachers would be by the monitors, watching the children on the monitors when they are physically separated from the parents. But Lauren said Lee would not do this. That was her whole job. She wouldn't do it. She could have allowed this lack of Lee doing her job could have allowed Timothy to be alone with the kids in the room during production. Lauren said that it was frequent that Lee, the set teacher, would always be hanging out with the first team. Lauren also remembered that toward the end of season 2, SL became pretty withdrawn. So they both said this. Lauren and Taylor both said this. SL did not seem like he wanted to act, and he didn't seem like he wanted to be there. They ended up using his twin brother, VL, a lot more in the scenes because he was happier to do the scenes and he more so wanted to be there. But SL, one of the twins, the one that got diagnosed with PTSD and was wet in the bed, he kind of just withdrew. So the cop did, a week or so later, finally talk to the set teacher named Lee. He said he talked to her on the phone. And she did say she was the studio teacher for SL and VL, and this involves educating kids who are working on set and being responsible for their health, safety, and welfare. She said she would sometimes monitor the twins if they were working in a dangerous situation or a situation she felt there was a risk, but she did say she would neglect to do her job and hang out by the first team where there were no monitors during filming. The cop did ask the set teacher if there was something that stuck out about the twins during her time on set with them, and she told them that SL became very reluctant to be on set. So this is 3 different people that are now saying, yes, SL used to be wanting to be on set, and then he just didn't. He said that he was very enthusiastic. Lee, the teacher, said that SL originally was very enthusiastic, but then at a certain point, he just didn't want to be on set anymore. Lee, the set teacher, said that whether they were in the schoolroom or at the table right behind the set, he would just have his head down. Okay. The set teacher didn't understand why he didn't want to go onto the set, but he was pretty clear he didn't want to do it. The set teacher, who wasn't doing her job in monitoring him, said that was a big change. After talking with Lauren, Taylor, and Lee, okay, listen what the cop said. This is scathing. He said, after talking with Lauren, Taylor, and Lee, I believe Timothy had the opportunity to be alone with SL while he was lying in the bed on the TV set. Learning that the set teacher would frequently lose sight of the children by hanging out in first teams where there were no monitors allowed, Timothy was left alone and not watched during some of this time. Okay, and then Warner Brothers is about to get dragged by the scalp, okay? So it all starts on October 3rd, 2025. The cop said, I wrote a search warrant for Warner Brothers, requesting access to production records and materials related to an independent investigation into those on-set incidents, specifically involving Timothy. Any incident reports, this is what he asked for, any incident reports, witness statements, or security footage about the referenced events. This information was mentioned to me during my interview with Timothy. Okay, so that was like a month later, he finally gets, more than a month later, he finally gets return call from Richard Westling, who identified himself as an attorney for Warner Brothers. And this attorney, Richard, requested the cop return his call. A few days later, the cop returned the call and explained to Richard, the lawyer for Warner Brothers, that he had a search warrant for the investigation done for Warner Brothers involving Timothy. Now, this lawyer was familiar with the investigation, and he told the cop that he would locate the search warrant and contact Warner Brothers, his client, to see how they could help with the return of the search warrant. He said, I gave Richard, the lawyer, my email to contact me. Richard advised that he would get back with him after contacting his client, which was Warner Brothers. The next day, the lawyer, Richard, emails the cop back and says that he spoke with Warner Brothers and they told him he could accept the search warrant and asked the cop. So the lawyer asked the cop to email the search warrant so they could review it and respond. 3 days later, the cop emails a copy of the search warrant to Richard, the lawyer for Warner Brothers, and requested a return within 10 days. And again, what was he asking for? Incident reports, witness statements, and security footage. He emailed a copy. He requested within 10 days. Explained to Richard, the lawyer, that this information could potentially be exculpatory. It could potentially exonerate you, basically, or y'all. So a few days later, he received an email from the lawyer. Back again, the cop got an email from the lawyer, and it said the following. Dear Detective Brown, my apologies. I got your call earlier this week, but I needed to check with Warner Brothers before getting back to you. First, I did receive the warrant, and I have reviewed it with my client. Second, as I mentioned previously, the investigation was conducted under attorney-client privilege. Warner Brothers is working through the process of deciding whether they're going to waive the privilege and provide you with a copy of the report. I'm hopeful I will have an answer next week, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I know more. Let me know if you have questions. Best, Rich Proskauer. So that was November 21st. So like almost a month goes by, and it's like just a few weeks ago, December 18th. The lawyer for Warner Brothers emails the cops back and says, Detective Brown, I hope my email finds you well. My client has continued its internal process of evaluating whether they're going to share any investigation stuff with you. Even though it's privileged, they don't really have to share it with you. He's like, but I would like to speak with you about our current thinking when you have some availability. I mean, this has gone on for a long time. It's been 3 months. They served this thing. Let me know if you have time for a call tomorrow. So New Year's Eve, he received the independent investigation requested in the search warrant. He said he reviewed the investigation. It was prepared by a woman by the name of Christina McGovern, who works at Solomon Law. This document was prepared on March 31st, 2025. So this is whenever they did their original, internal Warner Brothers investigation. They finally, turned over some documents to the cops. It was on New Year's Eve. So it says, on or about February 17th, 2025, an anonymous complainant made a complaint through the SAG-AFTRA hotline. So the Screen Actors Guild hotline about an incident that allegedly occurred on the set of The Cleaning Lady on December 16, 2024. According to the complainant, who claimed to have witnessed the incident in the hair and makeup trailer, executive producer and director Tim Busfield entered the trailer and kissed a minor male on the face as the minor was getting a haircut. The anonymous complainant further alleged that there are pictures of Mr. Busfield tickling and caressing the head and body of minor boys. Now, the lead actress, remember her, Elodie Young, she did finally talk she talked to Christina McGovern, and she was shocked when Miss Rodas said to her and her so when, I think this is Angel, this is the mom, the twins' parents said to her that she did not like what her son's being terminated brought out of her, but that she was going to get her revenge against Tim. Now, the investigator that Warner Brothers hired was not able to talk to anyone who would support evidence that Tim actually engaged in this behavior. So there was an anonymous complainant, but nobody would actually back that up. The cop said, after reading the independent investigation, I wanted to contact other child actors to ensure their safety. Reasonable. The cop's like, look, I wanted to get in touch with other kids on the set, make sure nothing was going on with them. He said, I was attempting to find contact information on these actors, but I received an email from that same lawyer. He said, Detective Brown, I learned today that you reached out to Barry Halley, who is employed by my client, Warner Brothers. As I think we discussed previously, we represent the company and its employees. I would ask that to the extent you, cops, need to contact any of the employees in the future, you go ahead and go through me because I'm their lawyer. Let me know if you have any issues with this request. So the Warner Brothers lawyer is jumping in and saying, don't contact anybody. But the cop is saying, I'm trying to make sure that the kids are safe, but clearly y'all ain't. Next section, Danielle Vigil. On New Year's Eve, I contacted Danielle Vigil, who was working on set with Timothy Busfield. She was doing hair and makeup. Danielle told me she had been contacted by attorneys prior to me calling. So the lawyers are calling everybody first before the cops can get in touch with them. She said she knew there was an investigation done by Warner Brothers regarding Timothy's alleged misconduct with child actors. Danielle told me that while she was working with two child actors who replaced the twins. Okay, so this isn't the twins. This is different child actors. So this complaint, the December 16, 2025 complaint wasn't even about the twins. The one where it was like he walked in and kissed somebody on the face while they were getting a haircut. That wasn't the twins. That was different minor. She said she was working with two child actors who replaced the twins. She witnessed, according to her in this complaint, Timothy come into the trailer where she was working and kiss two child actors on their foreheads. Danielle did say that both children's parents were present at the time, but felt the parents didn't really know the rules and etiquette. Again, listen, if the parents don't care about a forehead kiss, why am I supposed to? But the thing about putting the hands in the paint and the this and the that, that's something different. I don't know if it is different or not. I don't want nobody kissing my kid's head either. But like, if the parents are in there, like, I mean, who am I to get mad about it, I guess? You know what I mean? Like, but she said she just felt the parents didn't know the rules and etiquette. And who knows, maybe the parents did have a problem with it, but they can't say anything because he's kind of the boss. And the last two kids that had this job got fired. The cop said he asked Danielle if it was normal for this kind of conduct to occur. And she said, usually no. Usually a designated set teacher is supposed to be with the children for their safety. Danielle, the makeup lady, advised that the children were often left unsupervised by the set teacher. She said everyone knew to avoid Timothy because he was creepy. Oh, now we're getting a little bit of his reputation on set. Everybody knows avoid him because he's a creep. That's what she said. She was very afraid of retaliation for talking with me, and she was very afraid that she would no longer be able to work in the film industry. And I'm assuming that's what happened with Elodie as well. Next section, Kristen Carr. On that same day, the cop said he contacted Kristen Carr, who also worked on the set as a hair and makeup artist. He said, when I spoke with Kristen, she seemed hesitant to talk to me. So this is the third one seems hesitant. Kristen did not share or act as if she had any knowledge of any inappropriate behavior. Warner Brothers made it very difficult to obtain information for this case and waited almost 3 months to comply with a court order to produce the independent investigation. Warner Brothers used attorney Richard Westling to advise me that I needed to go through his law firm to talk with any employees of Warner Brothers, when I was actually just trying to ensure that children on the set were safe. When talking with employees of Warner Brothers, they were all very afraid of retaliation from Warner Brothers if they talked to me. Conclusion. He said, in my training and experience, PDF files often infiltrate families under a trusted role, like Timothy, who as a producer exploited the hectic film sets to tickle and touch SL on his blank and blank. He masked it as play. He would invite the family to offset gatherings while his wife would buy Christmas presents to foster closeness, making SL feel special and dependent. This is, according to the cop, a classic grooming tactic to erode boundaries, isolate the victim, and silence suspicions by blending abuse into normalcy. This dual tactic, charming parents while secretly violating the child, builds a web of complicity that is hard to unravel, delays detection, and this is because families trust the abuser's facade. I discovered that Timothy Busfield has faced accusations of assault with 2 separate incidents in the past, reported in the media, one in the 90s and another around 2012. I am Dex is in the chat. Shout out to I am Dex. Details of the reported incidents are as follows. The first allegation occurred in 1994. A 17-year-old extra on Little Big League sued in Los Angeles Superior Court, claiming Busfield assaulted her, served her alcohol, groped her, and attempted to have relations with her in a trailer. Timothy Busfield denied this, and he countersued for extortion. So why don't victims come forward? Because they get countersued. The parties did settle privately. His later defamation bid against her lawyers got tossed, leaving him to foot nearly $150,000 in costs, but no charges were filed. The second allegation occurred in 2012. A 28-year-old woman accused Busfield of battery in an LA movie theater, alleging he slipped his hands under her clothes, touched her privates for 4 minutes. Police took a report under code 243.4, but prosecutors passed due to slim evidence. He called it consensual with the 17-year-old. Oh, no, this was the 28-year-old. No arrest, no lawsuit, file closed. One of the twins, SL, has been in therapy and has issues with bedwetting along with other behavioral issues. He was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety. The social worker documented SL disclosing having nightmares about the director touching him and waking up scared. He disclosed that the director had touched and rubbed his you-know-what 3 or 4 times and appeared to be ashamed. During SL's safe house interview, SL said Tim touched his poop and pee area over the clothing 5 to 6 times between sets. After the sets were over, SL, the twin, said he was scared and he would speed walk to his father and hide behind his dad. He said the second time he was touched was when he was 8 years old while he was on set, and he describes the movie set as the same one as the first set. He said Tim touched him 3 or 4 times on his poopy area over his clothing, and that he was very afraid of Tim and was relieved to be off set. He said he was afraid to tell anyone because Tim was the director, and he was scared that Tim would get mad at him. So that was the warrant. And now I want to read over the document that was filed just today, the pre-trial detention motion. And this is the prosecutors trying to make sure that this guy stays in jail pending trial and cannot get out on bail. Okay. So it says, Come now, the state of Mexico, by and through Deputy District Attorney, hereby moves this court for an order. We want an order detaining Timothy Busfield while trial is pending. Such an order is appropriate because no release conditions will reasonably protect the safety of any other person in the community. The state intends to show that the defendant should be detained for the following reasons. He is charged with felony offenses, 2 counts of criminal S conduct, abuse of a child arising from his conduct toward a child actor, while the defendant occupied a position of authority and trust as a director and executive producer on a television series filmed in New Mexico. They get into the nature and circumstances of the offenses and the weight of the evidence. The facts below are taken from the sworn affidavit filed in this case number. He served as a director and executive producer on the television show series The Cleaning Lady, filmed in Albuquerque, New Mexico. In that role, he exercised authority over child actors, controlled filming environments, and had repeated access to minors on set. The named victim, SL, disclosed the defendant repeatedly touched his areas over his clothing while SL was alone with Timothy on set. These incidents occurred multiple times between filming sets. So this happened when they were between filming sets. And that's whenever, one of the production assistants was like, yeah, everybody's worrying about what they're doing for their job. Nobody's really paying attention. Like that one lady had a job to watch these kids and she wasn't doing it. Often while SL was lying on a bed used as part of the set. He provided detailed disclosures during a recorded forensic safe house interview describing how Timothy Busfield would enter the room after calling cut, grab SL around the waist, and touch his areas. SL reported feeling scared, ashamed, and afraid to tell anyone because the defendant was the director. He didn't want to get in trouble, and he didn't want anyone to get in trouble. His disclosures were corroborated by the following: therapy records, medical records documenting grooming and S abuse, behavioral changes is being used as a corroborative fact or whatever, like a point of corroboration of his story. Behavioral changes, including nightmares, bedwetting, withdrawal, and fear. Independent witnesses describe the defendant as physically inappropriate, touchy, and unprofessional. Testimony, and y'all remember, innocent until proven guilty, but if this is true, under the jail. Testimony establishing frequent lapses in supervision of child actors on set and admission of the lady who said, yeah, I would do that. I would stop supervising them sometimes. The defendant's own admission that he likely tickled and touched the children and maintained offset social relationships with them and their family. Although he did contradict himself when he told the police he didn't really know the boys. SL's twin brother, VL, independently disclosed unwanted touching by Timothy and corroborated the pattern of inappropriate physical contact and authority-based silence. The defendant encouraged the children to refer to him as Uncle Tim, purchased them gifts, socialized with the family outside of work, and exploited the chaotic filming environment to isolate these children, to conduct conduct consistent with grooming behaviors recognized in child S abuse cases. And these are all allegations, but this is in a document filed today by the prosecutors. The next section they get into is the nature and the seriousness of the danger posed if this man is to be released. The defendant poses an ongoing and serious danger to children and the community. His conduct reflects a calculated pattern of grooming, a lack of boundaries, and exploitation of professional authority to gain access to minors. The defendant has demonstrated a willingness to exploit positions of trust, the ability to offend in professional environments designed to appear safe. Offend meaning like S-ually offend, like it should be an S offender. Minimization and denial of conduct. So he minimizes and denies, yeah, we tickle all the time. What? Access to children through his profession, and a pattern of inappropriate conduct spanning decades. Witnesses in this investigation expressed fear of retaliation and career harm for reporting his conduct. This further underscores his ability to intimidate and silence others, and this would be adults. The prosecutor says No condition or combination of conditions, including supervision, electronic monitoring, no ankle bracelet, no contact orders, can reasonably mitigate the danger he poses to the community. Grooming occurs covertly and incrementally, and the defendant's authority enables him to bypass safeguards intended to protect children. Defendant's known history. The defendant has a documented pattern of sexual misconduct, abuse of authority, and grooming behavior, as well as the seriousness and corroboration of the charged offenses. Timothy Busfield has faced accusations of assault with 2 separate incidents reported in the media. One was in the 90s and another in 2012. The first allegation occurred in 1994. A 17-year-old extra, Little Big League, sued him in Los Angeles Superior Court, claiming that he assaulted her, served her alcohol, groped her, attempted to have relations with her, a minor, in a trailer. Well, Busfield denied it. He denied it. And he said he didn't do that. He countersued her for extortion. The parties settled privately, but then he sued her lawyers for defamation, and then his defamation lawsuit got thrown out and he had to pay their fees. Then there was a second allegation in March 2012. A 28-year-old woman accused Timothy Busfield of battery in an LA movie theater, alleging he slipped his hands under her clothes, touched her down there for 4 minutes. Police took report under code 243.4. I don't know why they put that like that. Under code 243.4, but prosecutors passed due to slim evidence. He called it consensual. There was no arrest and no lawsuit. Now, Warner Brothers themselves did an investigation into the defendant in February of last year, almost a year ago. An anonymous complainant made a complaint through the Screen Actors Guild hotline, and the claims were that Timothy Busfield entered a trailer on the set of A Cleaning Lady and kissed a 6-year-old boy on the face while the boy was getting his hair cut. The complaint further alleges that there are pictures. This is the anonymous complaint sent to Screen Actors Guild. There's pictures of the defendant tickling and caressing the heads and bodies of minor boys. Obviously, he was drunk at the time. This is the allegation. I don't know. I wasn't there. The second allegation the next day was made by the SAG hotline so there was another allegation made again. And this was that in September 2024 at the Cinelise Studios office in New Mexico, the defendant asked a parent to wait outside. So this is a brand new allegation. This is brand new. I haven't heard this one yet. The claim was that Timothy asked a parent to wait outside an office and took a minor child into a closed door room for an audition, which is prohibited. That minor was VL. During the investigation that Warner Brothers conducted, they failed to speak with key witnesses. They didn't even speak to VL or his parents. So what kind of investigation did they really do? Another victim's father, Colin Swift. This is where we began this section with the new allegation. This is a brand new breaking allegation as of today, as of about 3-4 hours ago. Another victim's father, Colin Swift, reported to law enforcement that yesterday that his daughter was abused, and it occurred several years ago at the hands of Timothy in Sacramento. She was auditioning for the defendant, for Timothy, at B Street Theater. She was 16 years old at the time, and she reported that Timothy kissed her and put his hands down her pants and touched her down there. The defendant begged the family not to report his actions to law enforcement as long as he went to therapy. Colin Swift, the father of the allegedly abused 16-year-old, he's a therapist himself, and he thought at the time that was the best thing to do. Defendant's repeated sexual touching of the various victims' intimate areas, combined with deliberate grooming behaviors, establishes a sustained pattern of predatory conduct, according to the prosecutors. I'm just reading their paper. Okay, sue them, not me. This conduct demonstrates that the defendant poses a serious and ongoing danger not only to the named victims, but to any child placed within his proximity. Sexual exploitation of children reflects a profound disregard for the safety, physical safety, emotional well-being, and developmental health of minors. It also evinces a risk that cannot be adequately mitigated through supervision or conditional release. The danger posed by this man is further amplified by his conduct after learning of the warrant in this case. Despite knowing on Friday afternoon that there was a warrant issued for his arrest, he did not immediately surrender to law enforcement. Instead, he delayed for about 5 days, traveling from New York to New Mexico to avoid the extradition process. This was not an act of cooperation. This was a calculated decision to submit to law enforcement only on terms that were the most convenient to him. More troubling, oh, this is crazy. Oh my God, they're citing TMZ. More troubling, prior to surrender, the defendant chose to record and disseminate a video to a national media outlet, TMZ. This conduct demonstrates a willingness to prioritize his personal narrative control and public relations over complying with lawful court processes. This behavior raises serious concerns that the defendant will comply with court orders only when it suits him, rather than out of respect for the judicial authority and rule of law. His history of alleged misconduct spans more than 2 decades, and coupled with the fear expressed by witnesses regarding retaliation and professional harm, it illustrates how individuals in positions of power are able to silence victims and witnesses. This allows abuse to persist unchecked. The delayed and limited cooperation. Warner Brothers, come here, we're not done. The delayed and limited cooperation by Warner Brothers in responding to a search warrant further underscores the institutional barriers that have historically enabled this type of misconduct to continue. Look, New Mexico said, all right, I see what y'all doing over there in Hollywood, and if you got to do what you got to do over there, you can do it. But this is New Mexico, and we don't know. We are about to have you, buddy boy, innocent until proven guilty. I don't know if you did any of this stuff, okay? But if you did, he needs to be under the jail. Research and experience consistently show that when offenders wield authority, status, or influence, they are uniquely positioned to evade accountability and circumvent safeguards designed to protect children. In light of the defendant's demonstrated disregard for boundaries, authority, and compliance, no condition or combination of conditions of release can reasonably protect the victims of the community. Accordingly, the only way to ensure the safety of children and preserve the integrity of these proceedings is to detain him in custody pending the resolution of the trial. For the above cited reasons, and in the interest of the security and public safety of the law-abiding citizens of New Mexico, the state respectfully requests the following. Make a finding of probable cause based on the criminal complaint filed in this matter. Issue an order temporarily denying his release while awaiting detention hearing. Transfer or set this matter for a hearing in the district court at which the state will prove by clear and convincing evidence no conditions of release will reasonably protect the safety of any person in the community. They said they need an hour for arguing their hearing stuff. I'm concerned with that dad. Like, oh yeah, just go to therapy. You can like abuse my kid. No, I'm sorry. What? No, I'm calling the cops. Okay. So we have his mugshot. Let me pull that up. Mugshot released. Timothy Busfield's mugshot released after he surrendered on child abuse allegations. Denied allegations that he engaged in any unlawful conduct with the 2 boys. Mugshot has been released by authorities following his surrender. He faces 2 counts. They're all lies, he says. He turned himself in yesterday. He will be booked on a warrant. His mugshot was released. Got the call Friday night. I had to get a lawyer. Saturday, I got in the car. I drove 2,000 miles to Albuquerque, and I'm going to confront these lies. They're horrible. They're all lies, and I didn't do anything to those little boys, and I'm going to fight it. I'm going to fight it with a great team, and I'm going to be exonerated, he said. I know I am because this is also wrong. Okay. It's just citing the warrant that we've already read. Okay, so the wife had somebody give a statement. It said, Melissa Gilbert is not making public statements at this time. Any purported statements circulating online, including AI-generated deepfakes of her breaking her silence, should not be treated as coming from her. She's honoring the request of Tim's lawyers not to speak publicly while the legal process unfolds. During this period, her focus is on supporting and caring for their very large family as they navigate this moment. Melissa stands with and supports her husband and will address the public at an appropriate time. We ask that their privacy be respected. Okay. So that's all fine and good. But I went looking this morning for, some different pictures and things on Getty Images. And it was alarming to say the least. In my opinion. Okay, so I just typed in his name into Getty Images and I sorted it by oldest. Okay, so you get, just regular run of the mill type of pictures like this one where he's holding hands. And I mean, he looks young here. I'm not going to say that's anything inappropriate about that in particular. But then as you kind of scroll through, they're just kind of like, that's him, this is 1983. There's 21 pages of pictures, and this is where it starts to be like, all right, so we're all the way back in 1987, and here you have a picture of him, eyes closed, sniffing on a little girl that's sitting in his lap. Now, where are his hands? I don't know. But it does start to bring into focus all the way back in 1987. He sure was pretty handsy. Now, I'm not saying he's doing anything inappropriate. That might be his daughter. I'm not making any allegations, but that's him right there. Closed eyes sniffing on a little girl. Okay. And then there's like, this appeared to be some type of like little photo shoot they were doing, and he's all in her ear and stuff, I mean, and then he's trading off to be with another little boy. Okay. Where the little girl must have ran off. And then, yeah, she went and sat with this other guy. So now he's with her. And again, I'm not saying he's doing anything inappropriate. Here he is with a lady. I don't know. Looks like, I don't know. I don't know what this picture is. This is from a show he was on. More pictures of him with, here's a little girl. Now he's down here playing. He's always paying more attention to the kids in the shot than the adults, for sure. I mean, look, he's down here playing with the dog and the blocks. Again, this is fine. I mean, nothing wrong with playing with a little kid, on set with some blocks. I don't see anything. He's not even really touching the kid, is he? Oh, he kind of is. He's got his hand on his wrist on his knee, I guess. So here he is again, the little girl, arms fully wrapped around her. Now he's got switched the little girl out for a lady. He's got the lady, and maybe they played lovers. Maybe they were lovers. Here he is again. Now the little boy's kind of on top of him. He's got his legs open, and the little boy's on him or whatever. Again, a little boy. He's talking to the little boy. He's talking to the dog. Now everybody's talking to the little boy. Everybody's talking to the little boy. They're interacting with the little boy. In and of itself, not anything too weird. I mean, it does. The reason I'm showing this particular set of pictures to y'all is just to show y'all it wasn't uncommon for him to be interacting with the kids on set at least as early as 1987. I mean, this 40 years ago almost. Now the kid's more interested in the dog than him. All right, now he's got something in his hand. I don't know if he's giving treats. I don't know what they're sprinkling the cheese. I don't know what they're doing. Now he's on somebody else's lap. He's talking to him here, a little kid. Okay, so here he is in this little boy's face, and it looks like he is tickling or something. He's got his hands all over the little boy's body. Now look at this one. He's laying in the bed. You see this? I can't make it any bigger. He's laying in the bed. Everybody's snuggled up behind him, and look at the little boy. Where the little boy's head is and how close it is. Like, who set that little boy up like that? That's what I want to know. Again, The little boy's sitting on his lap in the picture. Totally different set. The little boy looks terrified. Okay. There's more I wanted to show y'all. These are the same set of photos, I think. This one is the one that I find to be the most ish. Because it's like, who set that little boy in that pose like that? Right there. I mean, look how close it is. And look, another situation where there's a little kid in a bed on a set. Like, for what? I think we already saw these pics. And these are back in the 80s. These are back in the 80s. Here he is playing pirate. Again, this is fine. I don't think anything's wrong with this. He's just playing pirate with kids. There's another picture I wanted to, this one. Okay, this is the other one that really something don't feel right about this picture to me. It's I guess this is like a little girl. Maybe this is that same kid. Now he's not standing by him no more. But look at the little girl and just look at the hand placement. Okay, just look. Put a 1 in the chat if the hand placement is a no for you. He's got his hand up the middle of this toddler's. Look. Now, I know mothers hold their children like that. Is he a mother of that child? And look how he's got his hand full spread out on the chest. What did the cop accuse him of? The cop said he would disguise touching these kids as if it was playing with them. It was playing. Poetic and solid, no? Even this, like, there is, in fact, a woman holding, in fact, a child in this exact picture. And look how she's holding. I mean, she's holding the kid like this. She doesn't have her hands wide open, spread eagle, touching anything. It's like he's got his hand all up. Something about it don't feel right to me. And now he's doing this. Now, it does look like he does like to roughhouse and play with the kids. Now, it's up to you whether that's okay or not, but it does kind of sort of make it like it's a blurry line at least. It's a blurry line at least, because if you're doing a photo shoot and you're supposedly somebody's dad or uncle or whatever in the show, then maybe you would, this is like a normal uncle-y thing to do. Okay. This isn't creepy necessarily in and of itself. All of us had an uncle that spun us around or whatever, and they weren't, doing anything wrong. But like, this is not, I don't know who this little girl is to this man. And it's in the context of the fact that there was also this, plus all the allegations we're now seeing, which are only allegations until proven. She said, I'm a mom. I don't have a kid like that. Sometimes the kid's real heavy. I don't know. It's just kind of like you can just plop them and then you can keep going what you're doing. Because like holding like this, they could slip out. I don't think it's in and of itself like, oh, like immediate red flag. But like for me, the context of this whole thing, this is a red flag. Like to me, in my opinion, I certainly would say, can you readjust? If that was my kid, I would not want him holding my child like that. Now he's holding her like this. She looks sad now. Now he looks sad. What's wrong with him? They all sad now. And then here she is looking like, maybe it's totally innocent. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but that this poor child looks like it's got shell shock. The 80s was weird. Look, there's always a bed just right in sight. There's always a bed just right around. And look how he's holding her wrists or her arms. It's just, there's always a kid. There's always a bed. I don't know. Innocent until proven guilty, but I just. So there are some connections between Rob Reiner, professional connections, professional studio collaborations, etc., between Rob Reiner and the Nick Reiner case and this guy, Timothy Busfield. I am about tapped out for today. So I think I'm going to put that in a separate video. It's unnecessary, especially in the context of this photo. I am thinking about, like, you know, I know moms who are very, very small and their children are very, very large and they're, you know, compared to the mom. And I have seen, like, the mom, like, hold the kid like that instead of holding like this where the kid's facing. Sometimes the kid wants to face out, the baby or whatever. You can't let them down because they're wild and crazy. And so it gives them somewhat of freedom. It's kind of like when you have them in those kangaroo pouches where their legs can kind of be free and they're not kicking the hell out of you, and like they can. So I don't think there's nothing wrong with holding a kid like that in general, but like when you got the hands spread out and you got the other hand around, and it almost seems like what a convenient excuse to be touching all over a kid. All I'm doing is trying to say, you know, there could be perfectly reasonable reasons. I mean, to some extent, like, parents need to be able to, like, hold their kids and raise their kids and clean their kids in the shower and change their diapers and stuff. These are health concerns. So I think, like, to some extent, like, we do have to, like, somewhat normalize, you know, like, parents raising their kids, but like, I don't think that's what I'm looking at. I don't think that guy is raising anybody. I don't think that's what's going on. Okay. I'm trying to see all the sides. You know what I mean? This is what I'm trying to say. Okay. Innocent until proven guilty, but when taken into context with the allegations, it's not a good look. When taken into context with the allegations, it's not a good look. In my opinion, parents, yes. Some strange actor, no. You know, when taken into context with the allegations, it's not a good look. Okay. That being said, Timothy Busfield and everybody are innocent until proven guilty. I don't know what happened. He's claiming that this is because of revenge, because the twins got kicked off the show. But then it's like, all right, well, what about the other allegations that were put into the SAG-AFTRA? And what about the other kids you was kissing on the, I mean, I don't know. What about all that? What about the other one, the 16-year-old? And then you went to therapy for it and all that. I mean, that's going to all play into this, I think. And this will be, if I had to guess, this is going to be a very long trial process, especially and particularly because the witnesses are going to be children. Not children that were children years ago. No, children now. And that requires an extra special being careful of things and all that. Shout out to Jennifer. Absolutely love your channel. Sending you positive vibes from, guess, y'all never guess how to say this. How do y'all think you say that? Town, city. It's Natchitoches. It is not Natchitoches. No, it is not. But that's not to be confused with Nacogdoches, which is a Texas town. Okay, so that's Natchitoches. Okay, shout out to the Natchitoches cousins. And now y'all know. That's all I really had for this one. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Facts ain't defamation. Neither are opinions. I'm allowed to have opinions. Love you, Mina K. Bye.